Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video for Trinity Stamps. Today we are going to be making two shaped cards and one of them is going to be a shaker. These are obviously holiday cards. I think they're super cute and they come together super easy. So I am using the flat acetate shaker pouches. I'm going to be using the snowflake pattern stencil. The circle-shaped card die is the base. This is an older set, and then the two add-ons I'm going to be using are the snow globe add-on, and then I'm also going to be using the tiny tree. The tiny die sets that were just released, they would all fit really nicely in here. I chose the tree, but there's also a snowman, an elf, and a Santa, which are adorable. So this is like a half sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and that is what I'm going to cut my base out of. I'm going to cut two of those, and then I'm also going to cut the piece for it to be an ornament, and then the base for it to be a snow globe. So we're going to do two of those, and for the one that's the ornament, that's the one where we're going to use the tiny tree. I'm showing you the die cutting. I do want to say I do have the extended plates for my Spellbinders Platinum 6. So just something to keep in mind, when I'm die cutting them, they are, that was extraordinarily slow. Weird. Anyway, I am using the extended plates, so I'm able to cut it all in one pass. So in the snow globe set, it has this like snowdrift, and I am going to be doing some ink blending, but I also wanted to, like you could flip them over and like have a different snowdrift, so you could like double down on your snowdrifts, and they would fit in. I'm going to use them the way that they were intended, and I'm just using a very light blue-violet marker to mark that, and then I'm going to do ink blending. I thought it would be kind of fun to do one kind of like a day snow scene and one like a night snow scene, because I'm making two cards at the same time. Like I got to keep it interesting for myself, guys. So for the day snow scene, I use Salvage Patina and then Salty Ocean, and then I am going to use some white pigment ink and the snowflake pattern stencil. Now this obviously is a, what is the word that I want? Like it's the same pattern. It's a repeat pattern. That's how I would describe it. And so for the one that's the day, it's not really that big of a deal because you can barely see them. Like you have to kind of catch them in the right light. And then for the day one, I'm also going to do the shading for my snow with shaded lilac with a very light hand. I did end up going back in and I used some blue. This is the one I typically use for Salty Ocean, and I didn't like dip it back into the ink. I just used what was left. Now for the night scene, I am going in and making it much, much darker, because the snow would have all of those shadows. So then this is the night scene. Now when you die cut out the pieces for the circle, it cuts out the circle, but then it cuts out a kind of like frame. You can see them up there in the left-hand corner. I did end up cutting a circle that was a little bit larger. So I cut one side of the card base so that my shaker envelope, I guess, my circle shaker envelope would have the right size circle to fit around. So I did want to mention that as well. I just cut one side of it and then like trimmed it off. So now here you'll be able to see the snowflakes much better on the night sky. And I'm still using our like Blender Buddy brushes. So I'm going to go in and I'm just holding it in place with my hand. You can absolutely use a grip mat if you find that to be easier, or a sticky mat. And so I'm going over and I didn't want that same repeat pattern. So then I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick kind of different snowflakes to put in, more at the top. So it looks like there's more falling at the top and less at the bottom. And then remember, this is all like part of a bigger scene. So it's not going to be, we're not going to be paying that close attention to the snowflakes. It's just something to add to the atmosphere. And then I did some, sparkle or like some splatters of just regular water because distress inks are water soluble. And then I also did some with perfect pearls, and I did them in the background and then also over the snow layers, so that way it would look kind of like shining falling snow. For the ornament, and for the base of the snow globe, I decided to do them like a golden yellow. So that way, because you guys know I really like when they are matchy-matchy, especially in my pictures. So here I added some shadows to where the top loop is connecting to the top piece. And then I also added some shading up into the actual die. You can't see, it's hard to see on camera, but there are some embossed lines to follow. And then I'm going to work out to my lightest color, and my lightest color is going to be that Y02. And that's just going to help everything kind of blend together and look like a bright, sunny gold. I'm also going to use that same color combination for the tree garland. So I just picked one side or the other that was going to be underneath, and that's where I added some more shading. And then I added shading any point where it kind of dipped, like down, and then also to the edges. And then there's obviously very little real estate here, so I'm not adding much marker at all, but when it comes together at the end, it does help to create lots of dimension because we have those shadows and those highlights, which helps it to look like it is, shiny gold garland on our tree, which is kind of funny because, I don't think I've ever seen gold garland. I've seen white, I've seen silver. We have gold on our tree, but it's not like fluffy garland. It's, what are they, bells? They came from my husband, because we obviously were combining our things since we got together as adults. So it came from his house, and I think they're like bells or beads, but they are gold, but I've never seen the fluffy gold. For the tree itself, again, they have this embossing in there, so I am going into the embossed parts, the parts that are down the deepest, and that is where I'm adding the darkest color. I'm also adding some darker color around the areas that set apart each kind of tier of the tree. So I'm adding more shading to those areas. I only chose to do a 3-color blend for this, because we're going to be decorating it, just like your regular Christmas tree. Like when you first go to put it up, it maybe doesn't look like a looker, like it doesn't maybe look like it's going to be much, but then once you get the ornaments and the lights and the garland and all the stuff on it, then, it kind of starts to come to life. Our card tree is going to be the same way. So we're not going to be necessarily paying attention all that much to, the shading. So I think like a little bit goes a long way. If it wasn't there, I think it would be noticeable, but it doesn't have to be like over the top effort because it's really just a supporting actor. So then once I have my shadows down, went over that with my mid-tone and extended it out, and then now we're going to go in with our lightest color. So can I just say that I cannot believe that we're already to holiday cards. I cannot believe that it is already time for that. I know like in the retail world, like we're all working ahead of schedule. And that's just kind of the nature of things. Like, I walked into a craft store here, and they already had like their Christmas stuff up, and this was like September. I was like, y'all, we have not even had Thanksgiving. But if you're going to be, I guess if you're going to be decorating for fall or Thanksgiving, you're probably putting those things out in September. So once once those things are done, then it's transitioning. So these are the ornaments that are on the tree. I cut several of them. I just picked like a rainbow of colors. Everybody's different with their tree. Some people like all white. Some people like the multicolor. Some people like a mix. I do like a multicolor. So that is how I chose to color my tree. Nobody is surprised by that since I do love a good rainbow. So this little house is the house that is included in the snow globe add-on. So like it has the little house with the windows and the trees. Those are all included. The one that's the ornament where we're doing the actual like Christmas tree, that is the tiny one, and it's not necessarily meant to go into the snow globe, but it is a perfect size to go into the snow globe. So here I'm coloring it, like my thought process was like kind of coloring it like a gingerbread house almost. And I think that is adorable. I think it's so cute. And then, so I did the coloring, like this warmer brown gingerbread color. And then I'm going to do the accessories, like the windows and the peaks, the little like bush portion, the chimney. I'm going to do those all white, like you would see on a gingerbread house. So yeah, I cannot believe that we're already looking at the holidays. Did you guys have like, I remember when I was young, like we had like catalogs that would come to the house, and you would go through the catalogs. And because I had a family where I was the youngest child, like I had siblings. So we would have to go through and like circle the things that we wanted in the catalog, and then put our initials next to it. So here with the white, I'm just adding the shadows. So just using a C1 and a C3. And then white is my lightest color. White is my highlight color. So anyway, for a really long time, like we got away from that. Like catalogs were not a thing because everything was online. And I've noticed the last like couple of years, I don't know if it's because everybody switched to like streaming services. So not as many people have regular cable, which means not as many people are seeing like the regular commercials, that we have gotten some catalogs to the house, whether that was from like Amazon or I know we got Walmart this year. I'm not sure if like Target does one or not. But so my kids now have been doing the catalogs. They are not nearly what they were when I was younger. Those catalogs were like huge. And I remember like sitting at the table with my mom and my sisters and these catalogs, even like up into like when we were adults, like flipping through the pages. And, when one person was done with the catalog, you passed it to the next and then you got their catalog and, sharing those things like, oh, this is cute. Wouldn't this be cute here? Or, whatever. So that is a very fond memory for me, and I think it's really fun that is kind of coming back around so that my kids can also do it. So my daughter is she's going to be 4, so she is not necessarily writing yet, but she does make a very loopy circle. But my son is going in and circling his and putting his initials next to it, which I think is cute. And obviously, like the vast majority of what we circled, we did not get because, we we circled a lot of things. But I think it was just like the overall experience of it. Plus, it was something like we used to do after Thanksgiving, like when we would. Like we would either play a game, or if nobody was like in the mood to play a game, we would go through the catalogs. So that it's just kind of a fond memory, and I'm happy to see that it's kind of circling back around for our younger generations, even though it was like once kind of by the wayside. So about the trees. So obviously, like blue is not what you would immediately think for the trees. And actually, I think I saw it. I saw somebody else do it and I was like, oh, that's super fun. Like for like a little icy winter scene to do the trees like a pale blue. I really like it. I think that it adds so much to the scene, and then there is no competing colors. Because like if you color like trees, you would color them green, right? Well, in winter they aren't green. They are, well, at least not here in Ohio, they are sparse. They surely are not green unless they are pine trees. So I thought that, like that lighter blue was a fun way to kind of add to it. It's just not something that I would have thought of myself. I cannot remember where I saw it. I'll have to see if I can figure out where I saw it so that I can give whoever that was credit. So putting this together is pretty simple. So you have like the little wavy pieces, and those are actually the window sills that like have the little snow on them or icing, you know, depending upon what kind of house you're doing. And so you put down the window frame. Now I do want to say that when you cut out the house, it does cut out the windows, and you should probably keep those pieces. I did not keep those pieces because I was thinking that I probably did not need them, but it turns out that I probably did need them. Now I'm going to show you a workaround if you did not keep your pieces, like I did not keep my pieces. I will show you a workaround for that, but those pieces are supposed to just like pop right back in there, so that you can either color them like your night sky, like you can see, you know, through to the outside, or, you know, color them a different color. Maybe if you could see inside the house, you know, if it was daytime or what have you. So now we have that part put together. We're going to put the tree together, and this goes basically like smallest to largest for the garland, because each one had, well, the first two have two pieces, and then the bottom one is just one piece that goes all the way across. I looked on the website, I think is what I did. I looked on the website to make sure that all the things were matching up to where they needed to be. But also, I don't think there's necessarily a wrong way to put on the garland. As long as it's stretching from like one side to another, I don't think you have to be overly worried about the placement. At least I wasn't. Because again, we're going to be putting on ornaments. We're going to be, you know, adding other little details. And the star, of course, the star that goes on top. And then like you could leave it like this and it would be super cute. I am going to put on my little ornaments, my little multicolored ornaments. And I'm pretty sure I even glittered them. I'm pretty sure I did. I have the shaker version in front of me while I'm watching the video. I do like to keep my cards in front of me just so I can, you know, look at them and see if there's anything else that I need to make sure that I cover. But anywho, so I put the colored ones on here. Now here is my workaround. So I'm going to just hold this in place. This is just a scrap piece of paper. I think it was one of the pieces that cut out one of my circles. And then I used a very light blue to mark where the windows were. And then here you could see, like if it was a daytime scene, this is how I would do it. I would do the reflective light. Now, for a winter, like a dark sea, you could either do the lights or you can do like there's no lights on and it's nighttime. I'm going to do the lights version. So I'm just going to add some adhesive kind of around the windows, and then I will stick this down to my scrap piece, and then I'll just trim off the extra from the back, and then nobody's gonna know we didn't keep our little tiny pieces. And it will still look like there are lights that are behind it. For the sentiments, I used the Merry Christmas. You guys probably saw me die cut it out. Or maybe, did I leave that in there? I don't know. I was die cutting it out in the beginning with all the rest of the pieces. So the script, I am going to use the Merry on one card and the Christmas on another card. And then I'm combining this with the Simply Sentimental Christmas. So one of them is going to say Merry and Bright, and one of them is going to say Holly Jolly Christmas. I am doing the white heat embossing on black because I feel like that's a pretty classic. And then, so this is the piece that will be the base of our snow globe. So I'm just marking, I grabbed the closest light marker. I am just marking where the top and the bottom pieces are, so I know where the inset is. I hope that makes sense. And so this way I know when I'm going in, I'm going to go in a bit darker. So I'm using a darker brown on the inside, and then I am going to use the same kind of yellow combination that we were already using. My go-to for a golden yellow is an E99, a YR24, a Y08, and a Y02. So just the center part is going to have that darker brown, just because I wanted it to look like it was sitting farther back, and then I wanted these pieces on top to look like they were popping forward. And so I have actually used this circle one before. When it originally came out, it had donuts. My daughter loves donuts. Oh my gosh, she asked me all the time. Even the other day when I picked her up, she was like, "Mommy, can we get donuts?" And so, well, what day was it? My peanut butter was supposed to start his new guitar lessons, and he needed a haircut, so he was getting a haircut. I took her over and we picked up donuts for dessert. Anyway, she loves them. So I had done her a donut card for Valentine's Day, and then I did the same one, but I did, they have the pizza. Trinity has the pizza. So I did the pizza card for my son. So I love that they're coming out with add-ons. They also have a wreath, which they came out with this latest release. It's a wreath circle add-on, which I think is super cool. I just haven't had a chance to use that one yet. So here, I should have glued down the frame first. I actually lucked out that it fit, but if I had to do it all over again, I would do the frame first, so then that way I could fit my background in exactly where it needs to go. So that is a situation where it is a do as I say, not do as I do type situation. So I did the ink blended with the snowflakes, and then I put the frame on, and then I'm going to do those snow drifts. Now you could do one and then put your tree down if you wanted a snow drift in front, and then put the other one down. I'm going to leave my tree kind of front and center. So I am going to glue them both down, or if you wanted to, like maybe you wanted to do like the other trees in the background, or something else in the background, you could glue it in between those layers. So when I was going through this, I wasn't sure what color I wanted to do my Merry, but I knew I wanted to do it a color. So first I started with a lighter blue that would match the kind of daytime sky. That was not enough contrast. So then I decided I was going to go in with it's still a bright blue. It's a B06. And it still matches the same color family as the sky, but it is a bit bolder, so it pops off a little bit nicer. That is the color that I used for the blue ornaments as well. So those are kind of matchy in there. And then I just glued them down flat. I forgot I did add a shadow underneath my little tree with that same blue violet that we marked with in the beginning. And then I went over it with a little bit of blue so it would kind of match that distress inking that we did. For the ornament piece, I'm only adding a little bit of glue at the edge. So this will like kind of butt up against that ink portion. It will just sit on the frame. Love the way that that came out. I think it's so fun. Like once it's all closed up and it looks like a little ornament. Super, super fun. And obviously, like if you don't want to do the ornament or you don't want to do the snow globe, like you could just do the circle card. And that would just be, kind of fun in and of itself. I always think shaped cards are super fun, whether you're a child or an adult. I just think it's fun to get something a little extra. Like my sister was here the other day picking out some cards that she needed. And I was like, don't forget to grab envelopes. And the envelopes she grabbed were all like white. And I was like, girl, what are you doing? Like, take some of them colored envelopes. And she was like, no, I don't want to use your good envelopes. And I was like, well, if you're going to get something in the mail, like, isn't it more exciting when you see like a little pink flower envelope or a little purple flower envelope? Like, isn't that more exciting? And she was like, well, yeah, probably. And I was like, okay, then like take one of those so that the people who are getting your cards in the mail are like, hey, look at this fun, fun little something. So here I did it the right way. I did the frame first, and then I am going to glue down my inside. So this, when you're doing the shaker, first of all, these little like flat acetate shaker things are so incredibly cool. I don't think I've ever used one for a shape before, and it made it really, really easy to bring everything together. But you do have to make sure that you've added all that you want to add before you put the quote unquote the lid on it. This is because I normally save, like I put everything together and then I save my detail work for the end. I did not do like my white gel pen like I would normally do, or adding my shimmer like I would normally do, because I usually do that like at the very end. Well, I had already closed my card up. So this doesn't have that, but it will remind me in the future, like before you put the lid on it, Kelly, you gotta do all of the decorating that you want to do. So I kind of staggered my trees, one kind of further back, one in that middle layer, and then I am going to put my house right up front, my little gingerbread house right up front there. I think it's such a cute little night scene. And then for the actual snow globe, those are the pieces that, those two extra pieces that we colored. I do feel like it sits, and is pretty dimensional, which I love. Here I noticed that I just didn't get it the darkest shadow up high enough, so I'm just fixing that. And then I'll put on that second piece. And then for this one, the sentiment is not going to sit on the actual scene. It's going to sit on the snow globe base. So this Christmas fits perfectly, like right edge to edge on this snow globe base. And you could very easily just do like a small little like Mary. I liked the Holly Jolly Christmas. I thought that was a little something that was, cute and extra. And then here I'm going to put adhesive on the back of my circle. And then I can, I got to take off the film. There's always a film on these shakers. And I found it easiest to just use like low tack tape to stick it there. And then when you pull it up, it'll pull up that film and then everything is crystal clear. So then you want to flip this upside down and you want to put your circle inside of it. And then that way you can start folding over your little prongs to seal it in. You want to leave yourself an opening of probably, I don't know, how many did I leave open? Maybe I left like 5 or 6 that I didn't pull down. And this is going to give me a place, like a funnel place to pour in my shaker bits. So I'm not going to seal that part yet. I'm going to then dump in my shaker bits. So originally I was going like with each individual bag. And then I realized just putting it in my little gem tray was much easier. And then I could just dump them all in there together. So that is what I ended up doing. I chose a combination of sparkles, iridescence, whites, clears, and I think I even put in some blue, like little blue hearts in there as well. So that is the shaker portion. And then I have another frame that I'm going to put on top to help, like, I don't know, I just feel like a frame is so much more finished. So I'm going to use that to kind of frame everything in. I am putting more dry adhesive. I found that the dry adhesive does hold a bit better onto the card base. And then I am going to put the frame around the edges here. So again, even without the base, like this is a really cool shaker card and it looks like snow. But then once you put that base on, it's definitely a snow globe. And again, I'm going to use dry adhesive for that. I was a little overzealous with my dry adhesive. Like I went edge to edge. I didn't need to go edge to edge. I only needed to go where it was going to sit on top of the on top of the actual scene. Because now I have like some adhesive that's kind of sticking out. But I honestly think like for me to give this to somebody, I would probably cover that up because you can see the coloring on the like on the flip side. So here again, this is where I would normally do my things. So I'm going to add some Stardust stickles to not only my ornaments, but also just some like dots within the tree, just as a little extra pizzazz. And then I'm also going to do the same thing kind of with my white gel pen as if it was like strings of lights, just doing little white dots that would add to the tree. And then that's it. That's both cards. So I hope that this inspires you to make some holiday cards, some shaped cards. I think that they're tons of fun and they're super cute. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.